What up, everybody? This is Wade, and you are watching my show, What I Watch. So this is where I talk about the movies that I love. Today we are talking about RoboCop. We're talking about RoboCop 1. RoboCop 2 starts to get a little and for me, RoboCop 3 is a complete thumbs down, even though he does get a jetpack and a flamethrower, and those things are cool on the nose, but the movie's just not that great in my opinion. So we're talking about RoboCop. I love this movie. It's pretty complex, my love of it. So let's talk about it. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 92. Its audience score is an 84. It is from the year 1987. It's an hour and 42 minutes long. There is a unrated, uncut version that's longer. I don't know how much longer it is. Not by much. Sci-fi action. It's rated R. Directed by Paul Verhoeven. Paul Verhoeven. Sorry, Paul, if I killed your last name there. It was released July 17th, 1987, and its box office gross was $49.7 million. I think I'm responsible for .1 of that. I never saw it at the box office, but I've spent so much money on RoboCop over the decades that I have to be responsible for some of it. Like I said, I really love this movie. I got a lot of things to say about it, so let's get rid of the poster and throw up Peter Weller. Peter Weller. Not the only thing I've ever seen him in. He was in some Star Trek stuff. I know he's done some other things, but this is by far my favorite role of his. Nancy Allen, I think this is the only thing I've never seen Nancy Allen in. She's super young, same thing with Peter Weller, and I think she's a lot of fun. Ronnie Cox, who I always think of as the corporate 80s villain, because he's also the corporate villain in Total Recall. And they're basically the same villain. The villain he plays in RoboCop is basically the same villain he plays in Total Recall. And Kurtwood Smith. Not only is Kurtwood a really cool name, but Kurtwood Smith, he is a not good guy in this movie. And then for lots of people who just know him from that 70s show, and there's a little bit more I want to say about that in a minute, but they're very different roles, and I just love Kurtwood Smith in this role. So the synopsis that I wrote for this movie is: on the mean streets of Detroit, a police officer, Alex Murphy, is slain in the line of duty. He is returned to life as RoboCop, a cybernetic police officer designed by a ruthless megacorp. As he comes to grip with his new life, he recovers his humanity and must explore what it means to be more than just a product. So, some things that I want to say about RoboCop. Number one, Detroit love. I do a lot of work in Detroit. I have met a lot of great people from Detroit. Some scary people that are not my friends, but I've done a lot of work in Detroit. I have been in the city a lot, met a lot of great people. So loving RoboCop because it takes place in Detroit is kind of like not liking football, but still being a diehard Lions fan. Like in 2024, the Lions did pretty good in the playoffs, and I'm not a football fan, but I was like, yeah, Lions, because you're proud of the stuff that's in your state, of the stuff that's yours. The Lions belong to us, and I was very happy for them. Just like RoboCop belongs to us, and for me, it's cool because I spend so much time in Detroit. And I love this movie. I've loved this movie since I was a little kid. So it's a really cool action film. However, at the time, 1987, it was viewed as ultra gory and over the top action. So that's why there's an unrated cut that they could never play in the movies because of the censor at the time, and that's why there's the theatrical version. It's a lot, and when you know the theatrical version very well, and then you watch the director's cut, you can see why, because the shooting deaths are just more gory and visceral. So with that, I want to give the warning. There's lots of F-bombs in this movie, so if you're a parent and you care about that sort of thing, I hope you do. I want to warn you about that. There isn't any nudity. There's one assault scene that is on the road to becoming a rape, but you don't see any nudity or anything like that. um, and RoboCop saves the lady who is going to be sexually assaulted, so that's a good thing. But I also want to warn people that there's outdated language in this. There were racial slurs in this movie that I didn't know what they meant, and I had to look them up, so please ignore my browser history. But I knew that they were inappropriate insults. I just had no idea what these words meant, and I won't say them here. But point is it's got outdated language. So if you're offended by outdated language, words that we don't use anymore, and expressions that we don't make anymore because society has moved on, well, this movie has some of those things. um, it's more than just an ultra gory, swearing shoot 'em up because there's other parts to it too. um, it's also a very clever satire. So it kind of takes place in this almost dystopian future. It's not meant to be like 20 years in the future. It's meant to be like next year or 3 years from now, kind of thing, like right around the corner. But Detroit has become very dystopian to the point where like this mega corporation like owns everything, like absolutely everything. And they're corrupt and not good people, and they're a megacorp, right? All the bad stereotypes that you'd put into a mega corporation that owns everything is a part of this. And there's also a meta complement to this because like you can be watching the movie and then all of a sudden it goes to like a news break. And that news break is interesting because it contributes to the story, but it also has parts to it that are satirical commentary on our American culture then, and some of those apply now. So it's making fun of stuff then that we still have now. And then all of a sudden it commercial breaks from that news and goes into a commercial for like a video game where the parents and the kids attack each other with nuclear bombs. So it's like a battleship, except for you nuke each other, and it's like I said, it's satire, it's commentary about how ridiculous and crazy culture and society has become. There's a car that gets really bad gas mileage and it even looks stupid, and it's called the 6000 SUX, the sucks, because it sucks, right? But everyone in the movie world takes it seriously. It's the brand new car that Detroit just made. So, like I said, some of those really smart commentaries still exist today, and yeah, it's this real, just sort of interesting story. It's also a revenge story, and I'm a sucker for revenge stories. um, so it's really cool. Like I said, it's a fun action movie, science fiction. It's a revenge story. There's no romance in it, which is a nice departure from a lot of stories. And there's even this really cool fan theory that I love. So the fan theory says that Kurtwood Smith played Red in that '70s show, and then when that '70s show ends in the '80s, he moves away. I think they're in Chicago in that '70s show. Anyways, Red, once Eric's out of the house, picks up, leaves, like him and Kitty like get divorced, or maybe Kitty passes away, but they get divorced, and Red moves to Detroit and becomes this villain character that he plays in RoboCop. And when you watch Red and then imagine him as the same character he plays on RoboCop, it's a lot of fun to make comparisons between the two and imagine that it's the same person. It's not. It's not the same universe. It's a fan theory that came much later afterwards, but it's still really fun to think about. um, and I also want to put a plug after this movie, or sorry, after this video goes up, I'm going to be playing RoboCop Rogue City here on YouTube. So go ahead and watch along with that. There's great Easter eggs. It matches up with the first two movies really super well. It's really cool and fun how it does that. And if you're into watching people play video games, that's a fun story that matches up with the first two movies of RoboCop. I've had a lot of fun sharing this with you guys, and we here at the Dragon's Lair understand that you can spend your time anywhere on the internet. So I want to say thank you for spending your time here with us at the Dragon's Lair.